The Metroid series has taught me a lot of lessons, actually, but I'm going to boil it down to two kind of main ones that I think sort of connect. In Metroid, most of the games, especially in the first part of the mainline series, Metroid, Metroid 2, and Super Metroid, she's alone. Samus is isolated. And Samus, I think, really kind of shows not just her like prowess in being strong and of course being a bounty hunter and a warrior, but when you really kind of think about it, how she's isolated throughout most of these games and doing these missions all in one take, I really do kind of like feel that sense of isolation, that sense of loneliness, especially in Super Metroid. And it was an interesting feeling because, like, as I was playing it, I love the game, I'm into it, and then sometimes you go back to the surface, like just as you're trying to navigate this whole labyrinth. But when I went back to the surface to my ship just to kind of save, I didn't realize like how long I was underground. And when I saw like just the surface, I was just like, oh, that's a nice change of pace. And it really made me kind of think about like in Samus's eyes, she's doing all of this just, you know, because she has to, because it's her mission. And I really do admire that kind of mentality she must have to just deal with this loneliness and not having any communication with anybody throughout this entire mission. And of course, not just one or two times, but a bunch of times if you also include the Prime games. And I think that is very telling of how strong she is. And I'll get to the kind of emotional strength later, but for now, I do want to focus on just the isolation part. And I think how that ties into why she does what she does in some of the endings of these games. So in Metroid 2, she has this moment where she, after killing all the Metroids, as her mission is, she meets a baby that's freshly hatched. And she, instead of killing it like she's supposed to do, she actually ends up saving it because the baby doesn't kill her. The baby just actually sees her as, well, a mother. And she kind of like, you know, considers it. And I think not the only reason, but a big part of the reason was how lonely she was and how everything, every Metroid and every creature tried to kill her while she was underground during Metroid 2. She really does kind of like, okay, I have a chance to, not kill something. So I think part of her reason is just the relief that she meets a living creature that is actually friendly after this whole time of having to survive this dark terrain. And then that kind of brings me to the other point is Metroid really taught me this dichotomy of I think what it is to be a mother. In Jungian archetypes, there's this mother archetype. And a lot of times there's always the shadow side in each archetype. And this mother archetype is no exception. There's the light mother and there's the dark mother. And I think that really comes to play here when she kind of adopts this baby Metroid. And this is after the first game where she beats, Mother Brain. And I'll get to Mother Brain in a second, but I don't think it's just, coincidence she's called Mother Brain. But when she saves this baby, I think she kind of like, takes in the nurturing part of that mother archetype. She didn't raise the Metro or anything when she gives it to the Federation, but she doesn't kill it, and she really does kind of, I think, develop this compassion for the Metroid as, she goes back to her world. And then, while I was playing these games, I was like, there must be more to this story that I'm missing. And especially when I played Other M, because that really, say what you want about Other M. I know it's kind of like the, don't talk about Other M in the Metroid series, but just for this purpose, I do like that I actually went to more of the mental and emotional state of Samus. Of course, that's why a lot of people didn't like it, But I really did like their attempt. I don't think it was perfect by any means. Matter of fact, I kind of think they would have done a better job if they would have made that, more front and center. Her emotional trauma. But whatever, the case, I do like how it shows that baby Metroid was still very much on her mind. Especially if you know in Super Metroid, where she's about to kill Mother Brain, the second time, but she is losing. And when she's about to die by Mother Brain, the baby Metroid comes at the last second, revives her, and of course Mother Brain kills the baby Metroid in front of Samus. And of course, rightfully so, Samus is very angry, and you kill Mother Brain and you beat the game. And I think it's that kind of dichotomy that we see start to develop in this series, because in the manga, when I kind of did more research, it shows what Mother Brain is, what her reasoning is for doing what she does. So I always thought, you just got this monstrous Mother Brain figure who clearly is the evil monster, in the video game. But in the manga, it actually gives her reasons for why she does what she does. And in that manga, it shows that she really is trying to help the universe, actually, by befriending the space pirates and by siding with one faction of the Chozo. She, tells Samus, hey, you should join me because with your help, we could save the universe. We could protect the universe. And she says, I'm essentially your mother to Samus, and I created you to be a weapon. And of course, Samus, this is somebody who grew up with the space pirates. Ridley, in fact, killed her parents, and all the space pirates destroyed her planet. So when she sees Mother Brain being like, hey, join me in these, creatures who killed her family, Samus rightfully rejects her. And she also kind of like explains Chozo are her, parents. Even though her real parents died, she still says very much, those were my parents. And Samus lived with the Chozo for 11 years, being infused with their DNA so she can survive on their planet. And by doing that, she pretty much kind of becomes more of a Chozo, and in her own right, just her own sense of self. And I really do think that's why she challenges Mother Brain. It's like, I will not join you. And this is really that kind of split here in the Mother archetype that I can see play out in the Metroid series. And you see more of Samus's kind of light Mother side when she, has a chance to save the animals in Super Metroid, after knowing that animals kind of help rescue you by teaching you these abilities. And of course, being isolated, those were the only helpful creatures she found during the whole time. And she also kind of sees herself as this, like, okay, I can join Mother Brain, or I can be my own person. And of course, she chooses to be her own person, a bounty hunter. And by doing so, she becomes more and more of that hero that she wants to be, that light Mother archetype. Whether, the creators intended it or not, this is just how I see it. And as she goes throughout the series, we see, other facets of that as well. In the manga, when Ridley attacks her planet, Samus has a moment when she is a child saying, hey, Ridley, why don't we be friends? Why don't we, you don't have to do this. And of course, Ridley kind of laughs at her and says, no, I'm going to kill you. And she somehow survives, the attack. And of course, Chozo rescue her. And to kind of like bring this back to the baby Metroid, this is another reason why I think she saved the baby Metroid. And again, going more to her light Mother side. And I think it's that memory of Ridley attacking her and her planet, that she has a choice. Do I be like Ridley? And she is like Ridley. Honestly, at that point, she kills all the Metroids, so the Metroids really see her as the villain. And Samus, has a moment to like, okay, maybe I don't have to be the complete villain, and I don't have to kill this innocent baby, just like she was innocent as a child. So I think being that light mother side of her when she rescues the baby is also her saying she will not be like Ridley. In a turn, she will not be like Mother Brain. All that to say, this series really did teach me that Samus is this balance of light and dark energy, and using the mother archetypes that Jung kind of brought forth or created. He really showed that these archetypes are, in everybody, but especially in the mother archetype, Samus is showing these balance of light and dark. And I think that becomes more into fruition when we get to the Prime series, especially when you literally see a dark Samus come up from the end of Metroid Prime, and you fight Dark Samus, kind of like her wrestling with this darker self of her side, of her archetypes. And I really do see this balance come more and more into play as I play through the series. But that's what I learned from Metroid. I really hope that you took some of these lessons, and if you didn't, then tell me what you learned from Metroid. This is just all things I learned. But hope you enjoy the game as much as I do. I'm looking forward to any Metroids that Nintendo will keep making. But thanks for listening, and have a good one.